Greetings. You're listening to Rebels Remembered, featuring Caitlin DeFord and Kelsey DeFord.
Greetings, travelers from across the galaxy. I am Caitlin.
I am Kelsey.
And this is Rebels Remembered, and we are on the second episode of Season 3, Holocrons of Fate. This episode aired October 1st, 2016. Synopsis states, Maul returns to complete his dangerous plan, and the Ghost Crew is caught in the middle. This is written by one of our favorite writers, Henry Gilroy, directed by Stuart Lee, who both we've seen their names before, as we've said previously. So.
Yeah. Okay, we got some trivia here. So the droids that accompany Maul are hacked and reprogrammed droids from Mandalore, a relic from his time as a ruler of that planet. So it's interesting that he's still got some...
That's interesting.
Things, I guess, relics from that, and as we'll see in later seasons, he's got something else from Mandalore as well. The A-Wing that is used by Kanan and Ezra to travel to Maul is a trainer model, a 2-seater. Didn't know that this existed until I read this on StarWars.com. I don't know what a trainer model is.
Probably to... I don't want to say learn how to fly a ship, but
yeah,
maybe...
I don't want to look too much into it, but an A-Wing is a 1-seater, right?
I think typically, yeah.
Okay, so I guess a trainer just means you need someone to fly, like, as a co-pilot or something? Okay. The asteroid base is very helpful because I was watching this episode going, I have no idea where we are. The asteroid base where Maul's operating out of is one he used in the Son of Dathomir comic series that adapted the unproduced The Clone Wars episodes. I've never read this comic, but it's out there if you want to, like, read more about Maul, if you're, like, into that. This is the first time that Kanan's real name, Caleb Doom, is spoken out loud during Maul's talk with Hera. That actually was not on StarWars.com trivia, which I think it kind of needs to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure this is the first time we actually hear his name, Caleb, being mentioned at all, like, in Rebels.
Mm-hmm. So, interesting to me is we start this episode where Maul reveals himself. It's kind of interesting because you think it's another Inquisitor. I was expecting him to show up later in the season, so this was a shock for me first watching this season going, oh, we're already getting into that. Okay, well, you know.
Yeah, because I think when we ended season 2, I was kind of like you. I knew Maul was going to appear later, but I just didn't know when. This is actually technically episode 2 if you put the season opener together.
Yeah.
So it's like right out of the gate. It's very ominous though. Like you said, you think it's an Inquisitor, and we have a whole exchange where even Kanan thinks it's an Inquisitor until Hera's like, no, it's not, and then he just appears in a hologram or whatever. Very, very creepy.
Yeah, it's also creepy that Ezra, I think, says, oh no, and Kanan's like, what is it? Because he can't see.
Yeah. Which is weird. I mean, can he sense it through the hologram?
Hologram? I don't know. I mean, obviously he knows who it is when he talks to him.
Yeah.
But...
So basically he wants them to bring the Sith holocron and the Jedi holocron. So both of them. And I think both of them are weary of doing that just because of it's freaking Maul, and he's gonna do God knows what with it, and he's, done stupid crap before, like blind Kanan. So they are as such very, very leery about doing that. Mm-hmm. But they're also like wanting to play his game to see like not only what they're after, but he basically said, give this to me or your friends die. So you kind of have to play the game,
yeah.
Even if you don't want to. He holds the Ghost Crew hostage in exchange for the holocrons. And he extracts all the information of the Jedi holocron from Hera's mind. That was a very interesting scene.
Oh yeah,
he asked her to give him a tour of the ship, which is he's just being a butt. Like and he's even like commenting on some of the rooms that she passes. Mm-hmm. Like, no one asked for your opinion, sir, but okay.
Yeah, he called Zeb smelly, which even though it's true, it's not very nice, Maul.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's interesting that he's able to not only pull the information about where the holocron is, but how Ezra joined the team.
Yeah.
Hera's relationship with Kanan and knows who Kanan's actual name is, all from just, like, going inside her mind, basically.
Yeah, and I love that. That scene's interesting because she's kind of like, I don't know anything about it. It was like, no, you know everything about it. It was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? What's happening?
Yeah, like, yeah, very, very creepy. But yeah, like, seeing Hera be, like, obviously not thrilled to being anywhere close to this guy, but yeah, so that happens.
It's also creepy that he says this is where the boy found, no, he stole it, and he finds pleasure in that, which to me was creepy.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
He's like, oh no, he stole it, and then he laughs. I'm like, oh, I don't like you. I don't like you.
Because he keeps calling Ezra his apprentice in this.
Yeah.
And I wish I could go back and ask the people that, like, maybe Henry Gilroy, who wrote this episode, or, like, the Rebels crew, it's like, was his intention always to have Ezra be his apprentice, or was it hiding something else that he wanted to do, like, use him?
It's interesting that you say that, because he does use Ezra in this season, but I know we talked about it in Twilight the Apprentice. We thought, oh, as soon as he gets to the top, he's just gonna kill Ezra. But I saw a Rebels recon of that, and I can't remember who it was, if it was Pablo Hidalgo or one of the other crew members on the show, said Maul is all about legacy, because he doesn't have a brother, he doesn't have a family, he's pretty much the last of his kind, so he's all about what am I going to leave behind. So it's kind of creepy that he is kind of using Ezra as that tool, which is interesting.
So, like, one of his, I guess, even later on, it was just hard for me to believe that he would want an apprentice, you know?
Yeah.
Just because the relationship between Sith and their apprentice is not the best.
No.
Like, someone's got to go. It's usually the apprentice has to kill the other one. But I don't know, because he's just so creepy, dude. Like, he might find joy in that. I don't, like, his own death at the hands of his apprentice. I don't know. Yeah, he's messed up. Anyway. So, Kanan and Ezra have to retrieve the Sith holocron from Bendu, and he gives this very ominous warning about you can't unite the holocrons together because it could be dangerous. Very, very cryptic kind of stuff about, I think the quote is, once a secret is known, it can't be unknown, which... It's interesting that they were already kind of thinking, well, is this what Maul's wanting to do? Like, odds are probably yes, and we need to prevent that from happening.
And I don't know much about the history of holocrons in the Star Wars lore, so if you guys want to comment or tweet at us or whatever about that, feel free, because I'm just curious if this was the first time where it's like, no, they're not just pieces of information.
Yeah.
They're actually almost like conduits of both the light and the dark of the Force. Because I just thought they were like libraries.
That's exactly what Ezra says. Remember, he's like, I thought they were just databanks, you know? But they actually carry their own energy or something. I don't know how they work. They're so mystical. I thought they were, I'm kind of like you. I thought they were just very technological data archive stuff.
And also we have to establish that Kanan gave Bendu the Sith one in the previous episode.
But Bendu has to be a jerk, and he puts the freaking holocron back in the caves where the creepy Krykna spider things are. My question for you, if you can answer it, why did he do that?
Why did he put it there?
Why did he put it in the caves?
To test
Did he
them.
say that?
I think he did it to challenge them and to test them, but also he said keep it for safekeeping. Where's the best place to put it? Well, I'll just put it in the middle of these spiders. Nobody can get to it now.
Ugh. This is something like, to repair your bond, you gotta go get it together. And so initially, Kanan guides Ezra. He doesn't go with him, which I'm like, dude, go with the kid. Like,
he also takes his lightsaber, too, though.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But I think this instance was interesting because Ezra is still thinking, I don't want to say he thinks Kanan is weak, but he's still, my master is blind. He still sees him that way.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I'll get it, and you just stay here. I got it. I got this.
The audience members can possibly see Kanan that way as well.
Yeah. And come to find out, you know, when he goes in the cave and Kanan has to go in after him to help guide him out, he realizes, you know, the spiders try to attack Ezra or something, and he just kind of uses the Force on him. They back away, and Ezra's like, how'd you do that? I can't even do that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a realization for Ezra, like, oh, I'm kind of taking you for granted a little bit in terms of what you can do.
Yeah, it can also be like taking the lightsaber just so he doesn't attack the spiders and cause more.
Yeah.
It's different when you don't have anything to fight with. You can kind of curl up in a ball or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as like attacking them, I feel like they would be more reactive to that than
definitely.
Just sensing the fear. So meanwhile, the Ghost crew decides to make their move on Maul. So basically they somehow attack all of the little droids that are there, which the droids are even creepier too. They've got like frowny faces. Like they don't look friendly at all. And they're able to attack some of the droids and then head to the engine room, which is below where Maul is. And then that's when they have that realization that Maul is technically part droid because his bottom half is mechanical. Which for some reason, I've seen the scenes from Phantom Menace, I've seen Clone Wars. I completely forgot that this man is half. Yeah.
I totally forgot. Even Twilight of the Apprentice, I think I might have mentioned to you when I first watched it. You're like, oh no, his bottom half's like robotic. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Yeah, I don't know why I just forgot it until they were like, I hear him clanking around.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, we'll just magnetize your butt and try to get out of here.
Which is what they do. They end up magnetizing Chopper, but unfortunately, you're at a disadvantage. I hate to say that. Firing at a blaster at a lightsaber. I mean,
yeah.
Especially a Sith, or a Darth or whatever. Well, he doesn't go by Darth anymore. But, someone that's been trained,
Yeah.
And then his line to Hera was very creepy when he's like, you exist solely to serve me. And then basically saying, after you've served your purpose, like, you're
done.
Gone.
Yeah.
So Kanan guides Ezra from outside the cave until Ezra runs into the Hive of Krykna. And then Kanan joins Ezra and calls off the beast. I think this moment is, like you said, it's when Ezra and the audience realizes that, yes, Kanan is blind, but there are other ways that he can still see and fight. Something that was kind of reinforced in the last episode.
I think, this moment was also needed. They needed... Bendu was right. There was something fractured that they needed to repair. Mm-hmm. But it kind of... I felt this way when I first watched it. I was, kind of like Ezra when he says, well, I've been forced to see things differently since Malachor. And I was like, ew. And I could tell on Ezra's face, and I could do that, but he was like, you wouldn't have to, though, if it wasn't for me.
Yeah, and I don't think Kanan meant it that way.
Yeah, he didn't. He
didn't like side-eye your fault.
Yeah.
He didn't mean it that way. He was just saying it. But I think Ezra, obviously internalized that. It's like, ooh, yeah, it's kind of my fault, or whatever. But yeah, they have this moment where Kanan does acknowledge, he never blamed Ezra, even though Ezra blamed himself. And then he says this sweet thing about, forgiveness and forgiving yourself. And they have a little nice hug. Nice that the spiders didn't have to come in and ruin that. So they end up using the Force to retake the Sith Holocron, and it's sitting on, this giant... It looks giant to me. It looks like Mama Spider. And they're able to pull it out. And
it's creepy as it floats by. You see him kind of, reaching... It's creepy. It's so creepy.
Which I always wondered, did Ezra learn his lesson? He seems still to be very freaked out.
He has fear issues. Yeah, I'd argue that.
Yeah.
I would be too. Look where you're at.
Yeah, because I think even Dad was struggling with that. He was like, he's still afraid. Didn't he listen? I'm like, okay, listening and, experiencing it are two different things. You can say all day long, hey, don't be afraid of that big spider. And it's standing right in front of you. What do you do? They end up coming to deliver it to Maul, who has his droids look out for the Ghost crew. And he basically splits Kanan up from Ezra. Mm-hmm. And then he nonchalantly says to the droid, terminate the prisoners.
Yep.
So he was like, not only am I going to get rid of your master, I'm getting rid of everybody close to you so I can have you to myself. That's the way I interpreted it. Mm-hmm. I could be completely wrong.
And also, if this is going to turn dark for a second, but, if he had got rid of Kanan and the Ghost crew, his only option is to go with Maul.
Yeah, so Kanan goes with Maul alone, and then he freaking blasts him out of the airlock. And then Kanan is able to use the Force to propel himself back. For this episode, someone asked, how did Kanan survive that?
Oh, yeah.
I think Pablo said something about, as we talked about before, how does physics work in Star Wars? Is it the same as Earth? And then he said something there is, I don't know if it's ever been tried, like, actually done in space or whatever. But there is, like, so many seconds that you can technically survive before you expire. So I think he said Kanan was within that window of time. But still, I would think that the pressure would probably crush you.
Would have killed him, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a cartoon. Maul ends up joining Ezra, and they end up joining both of the Holocrons, resulting in a blinding flash. My question is, why did Ezra... Was it part of the deal that he had to do this? Like...
No, he wanted to...
Oh, that's right.
Like, what's motivating Ezra pretty much this whole season is, I want to destroy the Sith. I mean, this has been in his head, I feel like, since the end of season 2.
I would argue since the Inquisitors... Since Vader appeared.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, okay, this is the guy we fight, this is the guy we take out.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's just been something... It's like a goal in his head that he's... What's motivating him. I mean, he tells Maul that, so you already know what I want.
Oh, yeah, he does say that. But just, I don't know, did he think about Bendu's warning? Did he not?
That was the only thing I didn't like, is like, did you not remember what Bendu told you?
Or did you just disregard it and say this is more important than that, or... Yeah, I don't know. So in the meantime, while this is happening, and I don't know how this is happening, because I just learned that Holocrons have their own... energy or something with the Force. We have Kanan saving the Ghost Crew from Maul's droids. That, again, very, very creepy how they kind of like just kind of roll up, I would say walk, roll up behind the Ghost Crew.
And, with their weapons drawn and like, ooh.
And even the Ghost Crew, like, is just kind of, they know that they're probably gonna die. They all, like, lean forward, they close their eyes, until Kanan, like, and chops them with the lightsaber. That's what I'm gonna say.
So we cut to Maul and Ezra. They're both looking into this blinding light. And, you know, Maul keeps kind of egging Ezra on, like, I don't see anything. I must go deeper, or I think that's what he says. And then I have this very dramatic part where he's like, what do you see? And, like, the audience is like, what do you see? Another thing we get from Ezra is the words, twin sons. And then Maul says, I see him. Now, did you know who he was talking about?
Mm-mm.
I had no clue.
When Ezra said twin sons, I knew he was referring to Tatooine.
Yeah, I did too.
But I guess because I wasn't thinking of Obi-Wan when he said he lives, or I see him. It's not he lives. I see him. I was thinking he was talking about Palpatine. Because that's kind of
interesting. I wasn't even thinking about Palpatine.
Then I was like, no, it can't be that. So yeah, I was kind of like shocked Pikachu face when it was the big reveal.
I had a more stupider thought. I was like, is his brother alive?
Oh, I knew his brother was.
And then I think I said that when we first watched this episode way back in the day. You're like, Caitlin, no, he's dead. I was like, oh, but who's he talking about?
But yeah, I think I remember that because when you said it was like, he's dead. Wait, isn't he? I mean, Maul got chopped in half and he's alright.
Like, we about to see the Maul brothers reunite? Let's go. But then you're like, no, he's dead. And I'm like, and the funny thing is, I know nothing about his brother. I just know he has one. That's all I know. So they kind of explode. Well, before they explode, you have the Ghost Crew, and then Kanan sees Ezra through the lights of the Holocrons coming together or whatever, and he keeps telling him, "Dude, stop." Which I remember watching this with you, and I was like, our dad was like not happy. He was like, "Why is this kid still not listening?"
I don't know. Part of me was like, could Ezra even hear Kanan? You know how. And if you're in this trance of this thing that has this energy, like, you know, what are you... Is it like an out-of-body experience? Like, you can't tell what's happening around you, you know?
And then I think Ezra says it's so close. Like, he's so driven to this motivation of getting rid of the Sith that he's not, you know, everything... He's blind to everything else. Made a pun. And he tells him, like, remember Bendu's warning, and finally, I don't know if Ezra lets go or if they just explode, just because they explode. I'm not sure what happened there to cause that
explosion.
Reaction.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Maul runs away, and he's, like, laughing, and, like, he's kind of, like, out of it a little bit. And then he says the words, he lives, which We know what that means later.
Mm-hmm.
But in this moment, I had no idea. And he takes off in his ship or whatever, and they come to Ezra. And I think he says something that will hit home later. He says, I'm not sure if it's what I wanted to see or if what Maul was trying to see. And that plays in later, actually.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I knew Twin Suns was obviously Tatooine, but then I got threw off because I think... is it in this episode or maybe a later episode they're talking about what Ezra saw? I think it's Sabine. She said, that doesn't narrow it down. I'm like, wait.
There are other planets, apparently, with twin suns.
Have multiple suns. Yeah, I didn't realize that. For me, it was just we'll get into it later, is like... I myself wasn't sure if that's what Maul wanted to see. I think he just got lucky in what Ezra was wanting to see. And he happened to be a part of it.
This could be a theory because who got what they wanted to see?
Yeah.
That's kind of, I feel like that could be debated.
Mm-hmm. To me initially it just seemed like Ezra got what he wanted, and once Maul realized that Obi-Wan was alive, that kind of took over everything.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
so,
like that's not what he was searching, but when he figured that out,
it kind of trumped everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you rate this episode?
I like this episode. I'm gonna give it a 7.
I gave it a 7 as well. I wrote that this was better than I personally thought, you can disagree with me, that this was better than the opener that we got.
Yeah, I agree.
While I enjoyed opening season 3 with some of the struggles of Ezra, that still kind of continues in this episode. I found this one to just be a better written one, and it probably is because of the pacing. Alright, so we're gonna go into our next fun segment. It may not be fun for you, it will be fun for us, hopefully. And we're gonna call this segment Holocronic Minds. Okay? So I'm gonna read the directions. So in this episode, Ezra and Maul combine the holocrons to look at larger force visions of the present and or future. While both get information, they only get fragments of the bigger picture. Something that will continue later on in the episode 11 Visions and Voices. Okay, similar to Match Game, both of us will be answering questions to see if our answers match, are completely different, or a little bit similar.
Oh, interesting.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask the questions. I have the questions in front of me.
Okay.
We're going to write.
On
we're going to
whiteboards.
On the whiteboards that are so high tech. We're on a budget, guys.
It's fine.
That I have provided for us. So the first question that I have is, if you were Ezra, would you trust Darth Maul with the Sith holocron? Why or why not?
These are long answers.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so looks like we have the same answers a little bit.
Okay.
We wrote yes and no.
Yeah, I wrote yes and no because I thought you were talking about this episode specifically. What other choice does Ezra have? He has his friends.
Yeah.
So yes, he should give it to him, but no, I still don't trust him with it.
That's exactly kind of what I said. What did I say? I said no, especially after the events of Malachor, I would not trust him with it. But not only to save my friends, but to just get rid of it. I mean, if a Sith has it and it's a Sith holocron,
but his friends would have got killed.
I'm saying if he handed it to him.
Okay.
It's kind of like I don't trust him with it.
Right.
But I would probably let him keep it.
I would give it to him.
Because
I don't trust it with it either, but
yeah.
I don't know why we're arguing. We kind of wrote the same thing.
Yeah, we kind of wrote the same thing. This is kind of just a weird question, but if you were Ezra, when the holocrons combined, what would you feel?
Oh my gosh, this is interesting.
Yeah, so imagine you have this cube that's all powerful, and you're able to look into this vision of the past and or future. What would you feel? All right, ready?
Okay.
I like how yours is so serious. I wrote tingling. Like, when your hands go to sleep. Like,
I wrote determined. Or, yeah, determination.
Maybe I should have been specific. Did I mean an emotional or
That's
a
why I was
physical?
confused, like, physical? Now, tingling did pop in my head. But
Okay.
not that, but, like, tingling.
I don't feel so dumb.
Maybe this is the mental and that's the physical.
Okay, yeah, we can combine them. See? You can have two different things, but they kind of mean... Okay, you get it. Okay. Next question, so I can erase my dumb answer. If you could ask the Jedi Holocron one question, what would it be? Okay, ready? Yep. Nothing? You would ask it nothing. You would not ask it one question.
Why do I need to ask it something? That's the thing. Like,
because that's the question. I'm kidding.
I feel like I don't need to know.
Okay, well, I said how to communicate with the dead. So, obviously, I would go with this question with the perspective that I am a Jedi that's using this holocron.
Oh.
I don't really, personally believe that you can communicate with the dead. But it seems like in Star Wars you could possibly. But
learn that
ability? Skill. It's just, I think the other person might have to be another Jedi.
I like your answer better. I would want
to know how to communicate with, anybody that's passed away.
I like your answer better. The reason I wrote nothing is because I feel like I don't want to know. I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know anything about the past. I don't want to know, I feel like I'm just going to use it as what it's meant for, which is, hey, I'm going to use you as a map or as a tool or as a book or, use it for what it's intended and not really. I mean, I guess you could ask it questions, but I don't feel like I would ask it anything.
So again, you can ask the holocron a question like Ezra and Maul did, but they're asking they might be asking two different questions.
Things, yeah.
Yep. Do you believe Ezra and Maul are destined to see this vision?
Oh, like they're supposed to... wait, can you explain?
So, Ezra and Maul are destined. They have a destiny to see this. This is meant to happen. They are meant to see what they are seeing. Okay. Oh!
We have a controversy! Okay, so I said, no, they are not destined to see it.
I said, considering what happens later, they are destined to see this. So let's do point counterpoint. We know what happens later.
Yes.
Maul goes out and tries to kill Obi-Wan. Had Ezra not been there, he wouldn't have been able to let... Well, I don't know if Ezra is in the equation or not. I think Obi-Wan would have been able to handle it. Mm-hmm. But I think... It's sort of, I don't want to say this, it's going to sound bad, ties up a loose end in a way. It ties up, not only their history, but, this Maul learning about Luke. That's obviously a loose end that needs to be tied up. And I think...
But you think they were meant to see that?
Yep.
I don't. I think this was just something that... Because if you think of it this way, if it hadn't have happened, Maul wouldn't have wound up there anyway.
But he still would have been alive.
So?
You don't want Maul alive.
So?
I'm just saying that.
I mean, Obi-Wan's got bigger problems than him.
Well, that's true.
So, I mean, and plus, Tatooine. You really think Maul's gonna look for him there? I mean, it took this guy, this holocron, to find this guy.
Not only that, he says, the planet where it all started. I'm like, why didn't you freaking look there? You could have... that would have been the first place I checked.
No, I don't think they were destined. This was destiny.
No, this is not destiny, you don't
I think this was two Jedi, or a Jedi and a Sith, trying to figure something out that they both wanted.
And it just happened.
And it just happened to align. I don't think...
So we disagree on destiny and fate and stuff with this.
To me, this wasn't destiny. It was not destiny, I don't think.
Alrighty.
Okay, so my question says, what did you think of the interactions between Ezra and Maul in this episode, and how does Maul's manipulation affect Ezra's development? What I've learned is anytime these two are together, Maul's gonna try to manipulate Ezra. I mean, you think the kid would have learned, but unfortunately, I think I've already established this. He's so motivated by his own I want to say selfish, because that's what it seems like. Even though he's saying, I'm protecting my friends, it's still kind of selfish. One, that he's going back to formula of, I can do this by myself. I don't need you. You know, that's kind of that thing. What do I think of the interactions between the two in this episode? It seems very familiar because we've seen them interact before. And again, Maul, like I said, it affects Ezra's development because he manipulates his kid through the season. Like I said, you think he would have learned by now, but apparently not. So.
I think it also depends on Ezra. You know, sometimes we don't give Ezra enough credit. Like, I think initially he's very, I want to use the word malleable. But
yeah, I agree.
Very prone to, like, being able to, like, react to that and being drawn in, like, to the trap that is the dark side. But I think he starts to learn that, no, this guy's just totally messing with me. Like, you know.
Well, even this episode, he doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
He still doesn't trust him. But again, he still opens the holocron.
Right.
And then you can go further in Visions and Voices and later episode Twin Suns. He's still being manipulated.
Maul's return is a big moment in this episode. Yes, it is. How do you think his motivations have changed since his previous encounters with the Jedi? So, something that I'm going to bring up again, but with Hera, in the one about her mother's Kalikori, because I think Vanessa said the same quote, is the scariest people are the ones that have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They don't care. They've lost everything already. So they're not concerned with losing much because they've lost everything. And I think for Maul, that's very much him. I think obviously in Clone Wars he had like bigger goals in mind, but I think once the Empire took over, that sort of changed to him just wanting to get rid of anyone that wronged him.
Yeah.
In a way, and we see it play out in Visions, Voices, and in this episode where his hope is just so warped. Like, getting rid of an enemy is almost like a purpose for him that he doesn't really have.
I didn't think about that.
Because he's just messed up. Like, yeah.